Hello, friends. Kaysha here, and some of you might know me from the Karis Project podcast. So, today I want to share with you a few updates of things that we have going on and how you can be a part of helping us going forward. So, as many of you know, my father, Dale Richardson, is a mechanical engineering technologist with a bachelor's degree in technology, and I worked for the provincial government back home in Saskatchewan, Canada, at a maximum security prison and hospital for the criminally and mentally insane. Now, as many of you know, we were exposing the improper contagion mitigation procedures for the COVID pandemic in early 2020, and likewise, how that relates to human trafficking, treason, and election interference in Canada and the United States. And this is precisely why the Karis Project has filed petitions for redress of grievance in the states of Texas, Colorado, and Michigan, as well as the province of Alberta in Canada. Now, it has recently come to the attention of the Karis Project that there was a mother in Colorado who was punished by the courts for trying to protect her children against a predator for being sexually abused and brutally attacked by the father. She's now going to jail and serving time for trying to protect her children against the evils and the corruption that we have all seen the last few years. Now, this is the same thing that we are seeing with Alberta's Minister of Health, Ariana Lagrange, who would not take the necessary actions to protect children from being sexually abused by convicted pedophiles and continuing to allow them to practice in the province of Alberta. And their licenses are currently being protected by the Alberta College of Physicians and Surgeons. Absolutely horrendous, if you ask me. The failure of our governments to bring these petitions to the floor have directly affected patriots like Tina Peters in Colorado, who are being politically persecuted with complete impunity, by the way, while convicted pedophiles are being protected. Here at the Karis Project, it is important to us that we the people are able to take our rights back and use our God-given constitutional rights to be able to expose the evil going on in this country and hold politicians accountable. We need especially the strong men to take charge in supporting the Karis Project's action plan financially in doing the work of holding the government accountable to protect our rights. And if you guys know me, you know already that this is my favorite quote, and so I'm going to leave it with you here today, because the most important thing that we need in this country right now is strong men. And I, as a woman, know just as much as anyone else just how valuable and important it is for us to have strong men leading our country to success. And so I'll leave you with this. The greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who will not be bought or sold. Men who in their innermost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle is to the pole. And men who will stand for the right, though the heavens may fall. So, my friends, you've heard all that I've had to say today and the importance of the same. As you can see, we have people, strong patriots, and women standing up for what's right and being completely destroyed. Politically, financially, we have good women in this country, good mothers whose children are being completely abused and taken advantage of within the system and even within their homes. And nothing is being done about it. Now is the time to take a stand. The Karis Project has an action plan, and based on all the experience that we've had throughout the years, we have the ability to teach people how to get this done. We need to work together in a time such as this, because our time is limited. Elections are coming up, and something needs to change. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Now's the time to take a stand, and that is precisely why I encourage you to stand with the Karis Project for we the people. Thank you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Karis Project podcast. Today, we've got a couple of, we're going to talk about the effect of Donald Trump on on Canada, which is definitely going to be an interesting conversation since he had decided to come out with the 25% tariff. And Kaysha, if you want to kind of give us a little bit of an introduction.
I mean, yeah. Well, hey friends, how's it going? What's good in the proverbial hood? I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of these things going down in the political world. Trump said that he was going to give 25% tariff to Canada, and as we know from the last show we did, or one of the last ones about this very topic, Pierre Poilievre said, "Oh, well, I don't think Canada should have the same punishment or same tariff rather as Mexico because they're not the same as Mexico." And to Trump, if he ever sees this and is listening, I reckon that Poilievre is correct. Canada is not the same as Mexico. It is worse. The acts that they took against Canada and the United States, the government against the people and the government of America, like the government of Canada, their acts of treason were far worse, far more calculated, far more, far more deep-seated, and their punishment should be worse. The consequence of the crime should match the weight and of the disrespect and the crime. And yeah, so we're gonna get into it. I don't know. I'm with Trump with the 25% tariff. I know Canada won't survive it, but like he said, if they're going to just be doing this, they might as well just make them states. He said the same thing for Mexico and Canada. He said if Canada and Mexico can't survive this, pretty much, I'm paraphrasing, then they might as well become a state. Because like it's to the tune of Canada over 100 billion, and then for Mexico 300 billion. Like who even has these numbers of money? Nobody, right? Like, so let's get it. Let's get into it. You guys get the. I'm with Trump 100%. Trump 2024. That's my president. Y'all already know I'm Native American, so I'm sovereign on both sides, and I'm claiming Trump 100%. And then, by the way, Maxime Bernier, he's the Trump of Canada. I'm not gonna lie. We had him on the show the other day. If you guys didn't see it, go check out that interview with him. He's the Trump of Canada, and I'm pretty sure he's singing the same tune as Trump. So we're gonna get some things done in the next couple of years here.
Yeah, let's bring up. We'll just show they reported that Trump is going to have a bad impact on the Canadian economy if he puts that 25% tariff in. So now, well,
What about the negative impact they had on the entire economy when they were killing people during the pandemic and when they were unlawfully imprisoning people and getting people in the United States attacked? What happened when they were having people involved with throwing shots at the former president, almost trying to get him killed to overthrow the government? What about all the kids that were trafficked and all the criminals they let across the border and illegally into the country who's been raping, killing, and pillaging and stabbing children? Like, there's when it's like cry me a river, build a bridge, and walk over it.
well, anyway, we're going to go through quite a bit of stuff, and some of the stuff that Trudeau and the gang and some other people have been going through and concealing. But let's listen to hear what Trump thinks about Trudeau.
Mr. President, Susan Lee from Fox Business. Did you reject a one-on-one meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau?
Yeah, I did.
Why?
Because his tariffs are too high and he doesn't seem to want to move, and I've told him forget about it. And frankly, we're very unhappy with the negotiations and the negotiating style of Canada. We don't like their representative very much. I love Canada, by the way.
Prime Minister Trudeau talking about you last night?
Well, he's two-faced. But, the truth is that I called him out, and I guess he's not very happy about it. We're being taken advantage of on trade. They put out a document. I don't know if you saw it. They didn't want me to see it, but we found it. Perhaps they were trying to show the power they have. It's close to $100 billion a year loss with Canada. We finished the meeting. Really, everybody was happy. I left it. It was very friendly. When I got onto the plane, I think that Justin probably didn't know that Air Force One has about 20 televisions. And I see the television, and he's giving a news conference about how he will not be pushed around by the United States. And I say, push him around. We just shook hands. It was very friendly. He's two-faced. He's giving a news conference about how he will not be pushed around by the United States. And I say, we just shook hands that he had because he assumed I was in an airplane and I wasn't watching. He's two-faced. He learned that's going to cost a lot of money for the people of Canada. He learned. You can't do that. You can't do that.
Man,
I mean,
he's very two-faced. He's gonna learn, and that was 2018. At that point, they were like, "We gotta take him out." He was sitting there with the crown, talking on television, like right there in the press, right in front of everybody, just talking with the crown, and then just Trump is like, "I beg your pardon." Like, Trudeau is something else, man.
yeah,
Oh my days.
he's
Oh my days.
everybody's taking him down. Everybody's taking a turn on
This is
Trudeau.
embarrassing.
Like, I mean, he's
And under what authority, though, does he say we will not be pushed around by the United States? With what army? Like, no offense, like, guys, I was born and raised in Canada, but respectfully, with what army? The amount of people in Canada is the amount of people armed in the United States, their largest standing
it's
militia.
not
So,
even close. There's way more people armed in the
way
States.
more, yeah. But their army, their amount of people in their army is pretty, like,
They
bro,
got
like,
I think it's like 3 million or something like that. It's still
it's a huge portion of the population, like, still, like, in comparison to Canada, like, we would not, that's not, I'm saying he doesn't have the force or like authority to say will not be pushed around when he's doing so. First of all, you're committing egregious crimes, and second of all, you don't even have the weight to back up what you're saying. What are you going to call the UK? An island in the middle of nowhere.
well,
Oh my gosh.
even Elon Musk got in on this, and let's see what he had to say.
Meantime, the world's richest man, Elon Musk, took to social media this afternoon, posting about Justin Trudeau on X, saying that he is such an insufferable tool and won't be in power for much longer. The post by Musk was in response to Justin Trudeau's speech last night at that gala for women's empowerment in politics, which is being criticized by Trump supporters.
I mean,
Elon calling him an insufferable tool is like calling him a woman.
I mean, this is
Yo, that's crazy. It's actually,
I mean, this guy is so bad. I don't even
oh
know.
my gosh, that's crazy. That's
Let's.
so funny. Oh my God.
I mean,
The
this.
fact that a woman's empowerment speech and Elon calls him an insufferable tool, that kills me.
Yeah, I gotta get to a couple of things here. We're gonna look into these before we actually go in there and start looking at the couple more videos, because I want to see that some of the stuff that what was it that Trudeau got and some of his people. Where is it? Oh, did I not put it there? Oh well, I'll have to just get it after. But we'll look at some of the stuff that they got to see, because this went to Scott Moe and everything else like that. I'll put it up in the links, but we'll look at some of the things that they got there. So we'll look at some of the names that we had up on the court date so that people will be able to see what was going on. So we have right over there, you can see there's the RCMP, the Court of Queen's Bench, Matrix Law, the Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists, and then there's a list of some rogue agents of the Innovation Credit Union. Right? So this was going on. This was on July 3rd of 2020. That was 156 of 2020. That was at the Court of King's Bench. It was the Court of Queen's Bench at the time. I mean, I have it in other documents where they have the court stamps. This was just there nice and clean that I could just come up and highlight that nicely so that you could see those parties that were there. These were the guys that I was going to court with when We got Kaysha and I got arrested.
Kidnapped,
Yeah,
Black Ops style.
yeah. We'll just refresh your memory on that just quickly.
For what? This is an illegal warrant. Oh, sorry. No, it is not. This is a lie. This is a lie.
Sidewalk?
This is a lie. You are stopping me from doing the
Back up here.
What is the reason for the arrest? What is the reason for the arrest?
You will not.
What is the
This is not a
reason?
lawful arrest.
What is the reason
not
for
a
the
lawful
arrest?
arrest. Do not.
What is the reason for the arrest?
This is an
What
unlawful
is the
arrest.
reason for the
Pursuant to
arrest?
269.1.
What is the reason for
I've
what
already,
is the reason?
I've already applied to
What
your
is the reason? What is the reason?
Do not touch it.
What is
Do
the
not
reason
touch
for
it.
the arrest?
You see this wickedness?
What is the reason?
God
What
is
is
going
the
to judge you
reason for
today.
the arrest?
You will not live. Father in heaven, I ask of you this day to pour out your spirit upon your children. And now I ask of you this day to slay the servants of Baal.
What
Do
is
not
the
allow them
reason?
to touch her.
What is the reason? What is the reason?
I ask of you this day.
What is the reason? You did not state the reason for the arrest.
Tell me the law. Tell me the warrant. Tell me the warrant.
What is the reason?
Give me your arm. Give me your arm now. Give me your arm.
What is the reason? Stop! Stop!
You're resisting arrest and
No, what is the reason for the arrest?
I can't even. You're resisting arrest. I'm sorry. You're
Like literally, what's the reason as a public health order? Public
you're
and doll and treat me like an animal. Like, come on.
you're you're laying face down on the ground, and
Yeah,
I mean
yeah.
how is it
Put
that
the
you're
flat pack on. They ripped behind my back.
but let's look at something that Apex had got previously to this. This is the Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists, and so we'll look at some of the stuff that they got here. So let me get this to scroll through there. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There we go. So you're looking at that one here. You can see the long list of names. You can see that there's Trudeau, all these guys, a bunch of these guys got it, and it was on July 8th, sorry. And you see these names here. You'll see the different things that I made the complaints of, talking about the engineering controls and all that sort of stuff. And then I get a response from Apex after they get this outlining what was going wrong with the engineering controls. And they sent a threat to me. And rather than dealing with what they should have dealt with, and then I sent this back to them that basically informed them of what they needed to do, and they did nothing. So that is really where we're at. So
Is it was it
what?
blurry? Like, was the picture blurry for you? Just blurry for me?
It
Because
was
for me,
it was blurred for you, so it was fine for me. Yeah. So these guys got to see this. Let's go through the other thing that they got to see. So while that was going on, let's look at the technical report. Let me get that up here. While this was going on, and so these guys are just straight up criminals, right? So we're gonna look at the technical report here, and just kind of scroll through that so they know that this is just a summary of what was given to them, so you know exactly what they got. All right, so there's the first page of that. We'll just get the rest of that going here. Right, so now you've got it going through. It talks about the engineering report, what was going on, Apex laws showing that they were obligated to look at the best interests for the engineering controls. You also went through some of the issues with the engineering controls, how they are completely incomplete, and what they actually should look like. And then we have a nice little chronology of some of the information of what was being done. And then we have a professional engineer who talks about the same thing, goes over the same thing, and agrees with what I'm saying. And that's really it. So we have these guys getting basically in a nutshell, and there was a lot more information than that, but that was what was being sent. So they had a pretty good idea of what was going on in 2020. You got to a bunch of people. Jagmeet Singh's name was there, Andrew Scheer, a bunch of the cabinet ministers, Marco Mendicino, Bill Blair, all of these people, they all got this information. And so this was really what was going on. And these guys are, I mean, they got it a bunch of times. They got it in person. I mean, not in person, but they got it by mail, and they, RCMP got it in person a bunch of times. So a lot of people were very much aware of this. And then we had, let's bring up what you were, once you got that information, and then let's bring up what you put to the Saskatchewan Health Authority that you worked at, your complaint, right? So that people know about the complaint that you put in there, which is that one. Let's look at that complaint. So that's the complaint that you put in there about the engineering controls that they were doing wrong at your workplace. And this went in, and that was before you got arrested. But then, after you put that information in, your workplace then put in this this letter to you. Like that was what what is this? That stuff went out June 8th, and on June 9th you got this letter from your workplace saying that they're going to have a meeting to fire you. And that's retaliation. So you went to the union, tried to get it dealt with, didn't get dealt with. So now you're looking at the complaint was lodged inside of there. They were made aware that there were criminal complaints. They retaliated and so forth. And so then the response was, rather than doing that, they responded by going back in and trying to arrest, not trying to, they did arrest us, right? And we had what is it? They went to close the bank account. Or did I show that one already? Did I show the one with the bank account? Did I? Did I show? No, I did not. So let me get that one up here. What?
And it's all blurry on this. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever, even like it's blurry too. I don't know tricks.
Well, for you, but it's fine on this end.
And like, if you tell me like, did I show it? I couldn't even tell you, man.
Well, I get it. I didn't show it, but I'm going to go pull it up right now. So this is telling you also on, there's it, July 10th, 2 days after that email goes out to the government to let them know what's going on. Look at that. Threatening to close my bank account. They ended up closing my bank account, the corporation's bank account, and everything else like that. When we went to have a meeting, because in the credit union, you can go ahead and call a meeting to sit down and say, well, why are they doing this? And they terminate the membership. So what they did was they left the membership there and they closed the bank account so that I couldn't call a meeting and speak with people. So all this stuff is going on. You're watching this whole thing go forward. So you have that, keep that in mind. This is what Canada was doing with people that were whistleblowing early in 2020 before they went ahead and arrested us. And we'll just keep in mind that this is how that that's the basis for why they came in and grabbed us that day. So when you see that they were taking all of these different steps, before they went ahead and did this.
For what? This is an illegal war.
Oh, sorry.
No, it is not.
This
is a lie. This is a lie.
Sidewalk?
This is a lie. You are stopping me from doing the
Back up here.
What is the reason for the arrest? What is the reason for the arrest?
So there you go. You know the reason why they came ahead and did that. So now we'll go back to talking about some of this other stuff here where now people are getting disrespected. Justin Trudeau is getting disrespected by Trump and other people. People are completely losing all respect for Trudeau because, he's a criminal and he is being lying through his teeth. But we'll listen to see what Doug Ducey has to say. Because he had something to say here about the meeting that Trump had with Justin Trudeau. So we'll get to that.
And tonight we're getting some new details about that Trump-Trudeau dinner from two people who were at the table. We are told that when Trudeau told President-elect Trump that new tariffs would kill the Canadian economy, Trump joked to him that if Canada can't survive without ripping off the U.S. to the tune of $100 billion a year, then maybe Canada should become the 51st state and Trudeau could become its governor. Right.
We'll have more on that detail with the panel. Peter, thank you.
I guess I should probably turn my mic on so that anybody can hear me because people were probably not hearing a word I said. But I'm saying right now, Trudeau's an idiot. He's a criminal. He's doing Canada a great disservice. He's doing everybody a great disservice because he's not doing his job. And rather than, doing what needs to be done, a lot of the Canadian politicians are all over the place about whether or not what people should do. So we'll listen to see what Mr. Jagmeet Singh had to say when confronted with Justin Trudeau's actions about the tariffs and so forth. So let's hear what Jagmeet has to say.
The threat of Donald Trump's tariffs, 25% across the board, is a direct threat to hundreds and thousands of Canadian jobs. The Prime Minister is telling us it's okay, he's just joking, Donald Trump's just making jokes, no big deal. It is a big deal. On top of that, what we're seeing from Trudeau is that anytime Trump says jump, he says how high. That is not strength. That is not actually responding to what's going on. And then when Trump trash talks Canada, we got the leader of the Conservative Party repeating that garbage. That hurts Canada. That hurts Canadian workers. What we need to do is acknowledge that Trump is a bully. Bullies look for weakness. That's why he's trolling us. So we need to send a message of strength. We need to have a real war room ready to go, fighting for Canadian jobs with unions at the table. We need to put in place and get ready to put in place retaliatory tariffs. We have to make it clear, if Trump picks this fight, it's going to hurt both of us, and it's not a fight that he wants. We have to show strength, that we're willing to do whatever it takes to protect Canadian jobs. We have to also make sure it's very clear that tariffs on Canada don't just hurt Canadians, it's going to hurt Americans. We need to make that message very clear, make sure the pain is felt, and so he knows this is not the direction he wants to go. We have to defend Canadian jobs, and that's my commitment.
Can't hear you.
I mean, Jagmeet trying to sit down and say that he's going to stand up and throw tariffs and get into a pissing contest with Trump.
Wait. He said you got to explain that to me. He throw tariffs back at Trump?
That's what he was calling for. Jagmeet Singh, the guy
What a
who
clown, bro.
who changes like the wind, comes in, and then we
Like
have what?
that doesn't even, this is what I'm talking about. You need to have strength and force behind your threats. You need to be able to deliver good on your promises or your threats. And that is not a good look. That is not a good look. That's not a good effort. It's not sensical. It's not logical. That's not a game he's going to win. You need to have the upper hand when you make a statement like that. You don't. You really don't. I mean, there's nothing, you can't make this stuff. Like at this point, what do you think? Even if Jagmeet Singh won prime minister, and everyone knows he's not going to, okay? Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Even if he won, what does he think he's gonna do with that statement? Does he get away with actually reinforcing that statement?
No.
Not, and then, like you said, he's going to just get into a pissing contest with the United States and then screw over Canada. Like he wants to be the big man on the block, and then he's going to mess around and find out on the graph, like the guy said, that would turn out the more you F around, the more you find out, and then he's going to just drag the Canadians down with him. Come on, man. Trump, man, double it. I don't care.
All right, so we're going to take a break here. We need to have a commercial break. We'll pull up another NDP MP that talks about Trump after the break.
Donald J. Trump is officially the next president of the United States of America. While millions of people are rejoicing in victory, thousands of others are still concerned about their savings. The unfortunate truth is we still have over $35 trillion in debt, plus wars are still raging around the globe. So what can you do to protect your savings? Many Americans are already taking action by reaching out to the top-rated precious metal company, Goldco. Right now, Goldco is offering you a free gold and silver kit to show you how precious metals like gold and silver could help you diversify your savings before it's too late. Visit MikeLikesGold.com or call 855-441-GOLD to get your free gold and silver kit today. Plus, you can receive up to a 10% instant match on bonus silver for qualified accounts. Visit MikeLikesGold.com or call 855-441-GOLD. I'm excited to announce our Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. Our famous My Slippers, they haven't been on sale for over a year. Regularly $119.98, now only $59.98. Our 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. Bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save on all MyPillow products. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98, or our 6-piece towel sets, just $29.98. But that's not all. I'm extending our 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st of 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free.
All right.
You know what's crazy?
What?
I almost feel like the Canadian government, they have not had consequences, and so that's why they feel so emboldened to do what they're doing. They think they're going to get away with what they've been doing the last couple of years. That's why they're going to try and get into this pissing contest with Trump like this. I don't think they think that they're going to have any consequences. And even a lot of Canadian citizens the last couple of years, United States isn't going to do anything to us. Trump isn't going to do anything to us. I'm like, man, that's not a risk I'm willing to take. That's not a consequence I'm willing to take.
Yeah, I mean, that's really it. What I'm going to say quickly is, for people there, you can see it on the screen. Go to mypillow.com/Karis. Use the promo code or call the number there. Get your MyPillow stuff. And if you want to support us in other ways, check the links in the description. If you're watching on Rumble or on Facebook, you should be able to see the links or whatnot. So back to this. We're seeing a lot of these Canadian, yes, they haven't had any consequences. They feel that nobody's going to do anything. Let's listen to this NDP MP right now talking also about Trump. I believe it's Charlie Angus, if I'm not mistaken. So here we go.
We're not going to be slapped around like this. I think there's a tradition in Canada of not wanting to be openly confrontive, which is fair. I think that's who we are. But Donald Trump's a different kind of animal. He's playing for the rage algorithms. And I don't think we should allow him that free reign. So for me, it was really simple, standing up and saying, no, we're going to have tough negotiations, fair play. But this kind of dismissive, idiotic behavior, I mean, he's a juvenile, and I invite Donald Trump, come up anytime in the winter, Donald, try and drive our roads, try and win an argument with any woman in Canada, try and take us on anything where we are very comfortable at. We're pretty tough and resilient people.
I can't believe he just said that.
No.
He just said.
Yeah.
Most, but come on, you can't make.
I mean, come and drive on a road. I'm like, he doesn't need to. He doesn't. Yeah,
That's the poorest excuse. Sorry, go ahead.
Canadian politicians, man, these guys have made us ashamed. Like, I mean, absolutely shameful.
Remember when they went to negotiate, Biden and Harris went again to negotiate the war with Ukraine and Russia, and all Biden looked across the table and said to them was don't. And then Russia invaded Ukraine the next day.
Nobody.
This is what that's giving. And I'm not saying I agree with war. Like, I don't agree with war. I don't want anyone's family's sons to go to war to die for useless. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's the same weak efforts, because Kamala, the way she couldn't negotiate nothing, the way this guy, him saying, oh, come and drive on our roads, it's the same. It's giving the same thing. And I'm sure Trump, if he really needed to, he would find the way. If he needed to be down there in those roads, he'd find the way. And this is why I'm like, they think this is a game. They really think this is a game, and it's not. And the fact that the words that are coming out of their mouth tells me that they're not processing things clearly. And perhaps it's because, and the fact that the men, this guy Trump is talking to about stuff on a man. Trump is conscious of a man, and you're gonna tell him across from me and said, come to Canada and argue with the woman here and see if you can win. I honestly, I wouldn't know what to say. I'd be stunned. I think I'd get up and walk away. I'd be like, okay, I have my answer. Fine. Like, as a woman, like, what are you telling me? Like, I'm talking to about real stuff right now, and you're throwing these stupid argument. Like, you're bringing a woman into the conversation for what? Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, this doesn't make sense. The Canadian government is not a real place. The Canadian government is not a real entity. The Canadian government is just not real. It's all theatrics. Parliament is just a mess. That I'm sitting here listening to something like this. And quite frankly, this is why I said Trump needs to actually put down consequences that make sense. Back home, my granny, she's from the West Indies, the Caribbean, and what she raised me on, and my dad, those who don't listen must feel. And it's time for people to feel the consequence of their actions. I'm not saying violence. There's legal, lawful, ethical, and moral ways to go about it. And Trump knows what he's got to do. All I'm saying is do it. All I'm saying is do it. and take full the full, the full extent of what the law can give, because this level of arrogance and ignorance is the reason why we're all suffering so egregiously. You're more concerned about women's ability to out-argue men in Canada than actually solving problems. This shows where the mindset of the Canadian people are. You're so focused on DEI than actually preserving the Canadian people's ability to eat food. That's what that was right now. That blows my mind. I still can't even believe that he said that. Like, this is where we're at. This is what we're dealing with. Why? At this point, make it a state. I'm sorry. I'm not even sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. You know what I mean? Gosh, Lord have mercy. God, take the wheel. Jesus, take the wheel, drive fast, and head it in the direction of the 51st state of America. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean it's bad. Let's even Jesse Waters takes a turn on Trudeau. I mean, I mean everybody's taking a turn on Trudeau. Because he calls himself a feminist. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, man. Like, you're a man, or well, I guess not. Maybe. Well, anyway, let's listen to what he has to say.
Tyrus and I are suspicious of men who announce that they're feminists.
Yes.
That either tells me they are trying to get lucky. It either tells me that they're hiding something really disgraceful in their past that they did to a woman.
Preach.
Or they're not real men.
Facts.
Do you want to be a man who's a leader of women, or do you want to be a man who's a leader of men?
Leader of men.
I want to be a man who's a leader of men. He's trying to be a leader of women. And it's not attractive. Let's poll the audience here.
Justin Trudeau is
No,
objectively
Jessica.
attractive.
He's not a manly man, and I know Martha agrees with me, and I
He
know
doesn't use a
Kellyanne
straw?
agrees with me.
I do.
He's not secure in his masculinity. He's hiding something. He did something bad, and he's catering to women in a way that makes me uncomfortable and not trust him.
He's also
Jesse Waters put this in a perspective I never considered before. He said, as a man, he wants to lead women, not other men. And men should want to lead men, not want to lead women. And he killed it, because I never thought about that before. Because obviously in the Bible it says that men lead women, but you lead your wife. You don't lead women as a whole, and your family. You lead your family. So
if you're the leader of the country, you should be leading men. That's
the men, exactly.
Put it this way: Justin Trudeau is the Commander-in-Chief of the Canadian Armed Forces, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and everything else that's federal. That's the guy that you sit down and you're going to take orders from? No.
Just put another perspective. That guy, that means he's actually weaponizing the women in the country.
Oh.
He's weaponizing, instead of weaponizing the men to do what's necessary in the country, he's weaponizing the women and preying on the insecurities and the weakness of traumatized women to get the outcomes he wants throughout the country. This is sick. Jesse Waters painted a different picture, plus what you just said about him being the commander-in-chief. This is new levels of evil. Remember what Myron said about understanding the nature of women? It means Trudeau understands the nature of women.
Of course he does.
He's doing that very thing on a mass scale for the entire country.
Because
oh, Lord of mercy, this is insane.
Christopher
Freeland
is she's the Minister of Finance and the Deputy Prime Minister in Canada. Now let's hear what's happening to her.
In the spring budget speech, you said it was responsible to have very specific, fiscal guideposts, including limiting the deficit to 40.1 billion or lower. So are you saying you're now comfortable going past that?
So I am not going to comment on anonymous rumors that are out there in the town right now.
It's fair to say Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland is having a tough week. The Globe and Mail is reporting tensions are so high between Freeland and the Prime Minister over spending plans that there are renewed talks to bring Mark Carney into government. Are Freeland's days as Finance Minister numbered? Let's ask our front bench.
These leaks every day over the last week are just really not very elegant and very, very, I think, hurtful to the brand of the government and ultimately the Prime Minister, if that's where the leaks are coming from. And now we have this leak in a very, very negative way. And I think it's really not fair to the Finance Minister to go through this leak from the Prime Minister's office.
One only has to look at, what happened to Bill Morneau when he crossed, in his views with the Prime Minister on spending, and he found himself on the outs. And it appears that the same pattern is going to happen with Chrystia Freeland.
So there he goes, throwing his finance minister under the bus. Trudeau yet again pulling some more shade. This is really disgusting. This is really what's happening over and over again up here in Canada. And so we'll probably now start to look at what Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, what he has to say when Trump was talking to him and he was hearing about the 25% tariffs that they're going to be throwing down on top of them. And then you're going to hear what Ford has to say about this right now here.
I wanted to start off, Premier, and get a sense from you if you know what Donald Trump wants in order to avoid tariffs.
Well, he just wants us to secure the border, and I don't disagree with him. We should be doing this well before he put this threat out to us on the tariffs. We sat around the table with all the premiers last night, speaking of the Prime Minister, and every premier was very, very clear that we need to tighten up our border and secure it. And that doesn't just apply for Canada. I think it applies for the United States as well.
Can you expand on that? When you say it was a big part of the discussion, were there assurances provided to you and the other premiers, for example, by the federal government that they're prepared to do a lot more at the border?
Yeah, they assured us. They said they were going to have a plan. We look forward to hearing the plan, and we can't wait a month or 2 months. We have to get a plan extremely quickly, and we'll see what the federal government comes back to us with.
Did they tell you how long before they release that plan or sort of convey it to you? And I ask because you mentioned time, and obviously this threat was made by the incoming president to do on day one, which is less than 2 months away.
That's right. No, they didn't give us an exact time, but I can assure you, as the chair of the Federation, I'll be on to him. I'll be communicating with him, ask him when we're going to see the plan and how quickly we can get one. But what we were saying last night, you have to beef up the RCMP, you have to support the CBSA officers as well. And I'll give you one example. Every year the RCMP, they hire 1,200 police officers. In Ontario alone, we train and recruit over 2,000 and growing constantly. So 2,000 for Ontario versus 1,200 across all of Canada. They need to support the CBSA officers and the RCMP with the tools they need to get the job done.
Let me ask you, the CBSA, the union rather, that represents those border agents has conveyed that they feel like they're 2,000 border agents short of where they should be to patrol what is, the world's longest, essentially, unsecured border, or not unsecured, but, it's a certain open border. Do you support that call? Like, do you think that's the kind of extra resources that the feds are going to have to put on the table?
I believe so. They definitely need over 2,000 more agents. I met with the CBSA and the OPP and the United States Drug Enforcement Agency yesterday, and they were saying they need the resources to make sure that they stop the flow of drugs going back and forth across the border.
I should probably turn the mic on. I mean, you're watching all the Canadian politicians, they're all scrambling, trying to figure out what they're going to do. Doug Ford, he's not really doing anything. He's blowing a lot of hot air. He was doubling down and saying that they should turn off the energy and that, we're not afraid kind of thing, and wants to go and get into the pissing contest with the United States while the Canadian economy is tanking, while can't even keep track of money. They've got Chrystia Freeland in there, who's a journalist, knows nothing about running anything financial, and she's just there, doesn't know what she's doing, and now Trudeau's throwing her under the bus. This is really what's happening. This really needs to change. We have Trudeau with Bill Blair, who is another guy who is 100% a criminal, talking about how they're going to use, they have a bill that they're going to use Canadian military on the civilians, and this is just way off base.
To project future threats. One of the things I noticed in the document, and then there was no follow-up on, so I'm hoping to find out what it's about, was the Canadian Armed Forces helping domestic law enforcement in Canada. What does that involve?
Happy to turn to Minister Blair for that. Bill. He's an expert in both.
I've done a bit in both. First of all, in the National Defence Act, one of the responsibilities of the Canadian Armed Forces, in addition to all of the extraordinary work and challenges that we place before them, is to be there when required to assist what we call civil authority. And so that legislation, we need to have that capacity.
Yeah, this is really exceptionally bad with that, what he's talking about, especially the fact that they spoke about taking away the guns. And we'll pull up the clip where we've got what's his name? I can't even think of his name right now. He's changed his cabinet so much, but they come out and they talk about they're going to take away the Canadians' guns, but then they talk about using the military to assist the police in civilians in regular duty. Like, what are you, nuts? But listen to what he has to say here.
Today, the government is adding a further 324 unique makes and models of assault-style firearms to the list of prohibited firearms in Canada. This prohibition takes effect immediately. This means these firearms can no longer be legally used, sold, or imported in Canada, and can only be transferred or transported under extremely limited circumstances. As part of that process, the government of Canada has committed to the Ukrainian government to identify whether some of these guns could be donated to support the fight for democracy in Ukraine.
This is absolutely insane. You are going to take the guns away from the Canadians and then talk about donating them to Ukraine. You're going in and talking about using the military against the people. You're going to start a pissing contest with the United States to get a 25% tariff, which would destroy the economy. These people are absolutely out of their minds. Absolutely out of their minds. And I mean, we're going to continue on to the next segment because we're running up on a time here. But we're going to go through a few more things here. I'm going to close with a prayer before giving my daughter a couple of minutes. But this is absolutely, completely absurd. I'll close with a prayer here quickly. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. Lord, I ask of you this day to help the men to stand up with the women and the children, and Lord, to protect the families, to rebuild the churches, rebuild the nation, and to bring some law and order to this country. And Lord, some sanity to this world is my prayer. In Jesus' name, amen.
Oh, amen. Thanks, Dad, for the prayer as always. Thanks, guys, for tuning in to the show tonight, or today, rather, for you guys, on Frank's speech. Yeah, guys, this is completely unreasonable, but we're going to continue the conversation on the other end. If you're on Frank's speech, you'll see the next part tomorrow. And if you are watching on other platforms, just hold tight for a moment, and we'll be back with you. We'll catch you guys in the next one. And to my dearest Karis, and until we meet again, my friend, and we will. Ciao.
Hello friends, Kaysha here, and some of you might know me from the Karis Project podcast. So today I want to share with you a few updates of things that we have going on and how you can be a part of helping us going forward. So as many of you know, my father Dale Richardson is a mechanical engineering technologist with a bachelor degree in technology, and I worked for the provincial government back home in Saskatchewan, Canada, at a maximum security prison and hospital for the criminally and mentally insane. Now, as many of you know, we were exposing the improper contagion mitigation procedures for the COVID pandemic in early 2020, and likewise, how that relates to human trafficking, treason, and election interference in Canada and the United States. And this is precisely why the Karis Project has filed petitions for redress of grievance in the states of Texas, Colorado, and Michigan, as well as the province of Alberta in Canada. Now, it has recently come to the attention of the Karis Project that there was a mother in Colorado who was punished by the courts for trying to protect her children against a predator for being sexually abused and brutally attacked by the father. She's now going to jail and serving time for trying to protect her children against the evils and the corruption that we have all seen the last few years. Now, this is the same thing that we are seeing with Alberta's Minister of Health, Ariana Lagrange, who would not take the necessary actions to protect children from being sexually abused by convicted pedophiles and continuing to allow them to practice in the province of Alberta. And their licenses are currently being protected by the Alberta College of Physicians and Surgeons. Absolutely horrendous, if you ask me. The failure of our governments to bring these petitions to the floor have directly affected patriots like Tina Peters in Colorado, who are being politically persecuted with complete impunity, by the way, while convicted pedophiles are being protected. Here at the Karis Project, it is important to us that we the people are able to take our rights back and use our God-given constitutional rights to be able to expose the evil going on in this country and hold politicians accountable. We need especially the strong men to take charge in supporting the CARES Project's action plan financially in doing the work of holding the government accountable to protect our rights. And if you guys know me, you know already that this is my favorite quote, and so I'm going to leave it with you here today, because the most important thing that we need in this country right now is strong men. And I, as a woman, know just as much as anyone else just how valuable and important it is for us to have strong men leading our country to success. And so I'll leave you with this. The greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who will not be bought or sold. Men who in their innermost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle is to the pole. And men who will stand for the right, though the heavens may fall. So, my friends, you've heard all that I've had to say today and the importance of the same. As you can see, we have people, strong patriots, and women standing up for what's right and being completely destroyed. Politically, financially, we have good women in this country, good mothers whose children are being completely abused and taken advantage of within the system and even within their homes. And nothing is being done about it. Now is the time to take a stand. The CARES Project has an action plan, and based on all the experience that we've had throughout the years, we have the ability to teach people how to get this done. We need to work together in a time such as this, because our time is limited. Elections are coming up, and something needs to change. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Now's the time to take a stand, and that is precisely why I encourage you to stand with the CARES Project for we the people. Thank you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the CARES Project. We're doing the second half of this. We're going to look at, go ahead, Kaysha, to come in and sort of bring us back in.
I mean, I came in on the rough end of things. I had to restart my whole computer because the Matrix doesn't want us to talk about this, I guess. My whole computer was freezing up. Sorry, guys. But yeah, we're talking about politics in Canada and the I guess opinions or responses of the people in our government on Trump's decision to do 25% tariff on Canada. And let me tell you, it has not been a very strong comeback. I can just tell you that. It was like, when you were on the playground in school and someone would, make a really bad diss to you and you'd feel bad and someone would be like, I know you are, but what am I? That's kind of what it feels like Canada's doing right now. I know you are, but what am I? Like very, very childish response. And, they don't really have much of a comeback. They don't really have a strong upper hand. They don't have any cards in the deck. They don't have any, they're in a gambit, like they're stuck, there's no way out for them at this point. And now they're just kind of doubling down. This is addict mentality. Instead of coming forward and being like, what, we made a mistake. Let's see how we can, work together to fix some of these issues. They're just doubling down and saying, you know what, we're going to go and burn it all to the ground and see, how many we could take with us. This is very sad to watch. I'm not going to lie. And they're shaming the entire Canadian population with them. And it's really sad.
Oh yes. This next clip is where Justin Trudeau is calling himself a feminist, and this is where what Jesse Waters was prodding, like making fun of him. This is the clip where he talks about it after Trump gets elected.
No, it shouldn't be that way. It wasn't supposed to be that way. We were supposed to be on a steady, if difficult sometimes, march towards progress. And yet, just a few weeks ago, the United States voted for a second time to not elect its first woman president. Everywhere, women's rights and women's progress is under attack, overtly and subtly. But I want you to know that I am, and always will be, a proud feminist. You will always have an ally in me and in my government.
No. I mean,
As soon as he said, I always have been and always will be a proud feminist, I was like, nah, man, I couldn't hold it. This is insane. You know what? This guy is the most misogynistic clown I've ever seen in my life. What about when the indigenous women and men were there saying, "Oh, what are we going to do about these problems with native people, the missing and murdered indigenous women?" And he walked right off stage. Where was his feminism then? You know, where was his feminism where Tamara Lee was being manhandled and arrested brutally in the streets unlawfully and persecuted? Where was he then? Where was he when I was thrown on the street and, you know, by the police for trying to just assert my right to go to court and take up my grievance in court legally and lawfully? You know, this guy, he has no regard or respect for women, and not electing Kamala Harris has nothing to do with women, because even women in the United States who identify themselves to be, you know, liberal or were once feminists or whatever else, they switched and voted for Trump because they were like, and they were talking about it on X. They were like, it has nothing to do with the fact that she's a woman. She's literally foolish. She's literally stupid. They just couldn't stand. She couldn't put together a coherent sentence. I don't know who was more incapacitated, her or Biden. They were in competition, honestly.
Nobody has any respect for him. Like, listen to the RC. They're talking about how many organized crime groups are operating in Canada to move fentanyl across the border, right? Because they're talking about him legalizing drugs and all that stuff, right? When we had Pierre Poilievre talking about that, but now they're talking to the RCMP about how many organized crime groups are operating in Canada.
How many, to the RCMP, how many people do you estimate are involved in the production and distribution of fentanyl in Canada? Do you have like a ballpark estimate? Is it 1,000 people? Is it 10,000 people?
I don't have a ballpark figure on it.
So you have no idea how many people could possibly be involved in the fentanyl trade in Canada?
There's a significant group, a significant number of organized crime group, but if you're asking me for a specific number, I can't give you a specific number.
How many organized crime groups are involved?
Over 4,000 organized crime groups in Canada, as assessed by the Criminal Intelligence Service Canada.
4,000 individual organized crime groups, all with their own distinct leadership and membership?
That's correct.
4,000 is a lot for a country that only has originally like 36 million, but now 40 million since all this illegal immigration. That is a huge number of people going around organized crime. Like
that's massively insane. So when you sit down and let's go back and listen to Pierre Poilievre, just for people to refresh their memory, because when you listen to the amount of legalization of drugs, you can sit down and understand why organized crime is flourishing. Let's just take this clip here.
The results are in on the Prime Minister's radical liberalization of hard drugs. He teamed up with the BC NDP to decriminalize fentanyl, crack, and heroin. He lowered jail sentences for mass producers of deadly fentanyl. And 80% of the fentanyl made in Canada is done so using ingredients that are not even regulated, but come right into our country where they're cooked into that poison, now threatening our trade relationship with the U.S. Will he reverse his radical liberal drug agenda to save lives and jobs?
He's not there to do the work of delivering based on science, based on compassion, based on a public health approach on dealing with the toxic drug epidemic. He is instead continuing to try to score cheap political points on the backs of the most vulnerable. That's not serious. That's not responsible.
What is not responsible is allowing 80% of the chemicals used in fentanyl manufacturing to come in unregulated and legally. What is not responsible is decriminalizing crack, heroin, and fentanyl, and then after you see that it leads to a massive increase in deaths, then 2 weeks ago, he, the Bloc, and the NDP all voted in favor of a committee report to decriminalize fentanyl right across the country at a time when Canadians are dying and our border could be closed. Will the Prime Minister confirm that he has reversed himself and now opposes decriminalization of fentanyl?
So you wonder why organized crime is flourishing, is that he's creating the conditions for them to operate. Like, I mean, business is good. Lower jail sentences, legalize drugs in BC, and what do you think is going to happen? You're allowing organized crime, and where do you think that fentanyl is going? Not all of it's staying here. A lot of it's going south, right? And so what do you think is going to happen, right? Because they know they're pumping that stuff out through here. And this, I mean, Canada's a joke now. Canada's an absolute joke. I am so ashamed of the government. This is not a government. Like, this is not a government whatsoever. None. Not at all. Yeah. I'm going to put on this next clip of this guy talking about what some of the other politicians were saying in Canada, because they're all not on the same page. They are not.
What are Canada's premiers doing to get ahead of Donald Trump's tariffs? Let's take a look.
Good morning, everyone.
For the second day in a row, Ontario Premier Doug Ford reiterated his threat to cut off energy supply to the U.S. in retaliation to Donald Trump's proposed tariffs.
You come and attack Ontario, you attack livelihoods of people of Ontario and Canadians. We're going to use every tool in our toolbox to defend Ontarians and Canadians across the border.
Trump responded to Ford's threat today, saying this.
Well, that's okay if he does that. That's fine. But the United States is subsidizing Canada. It's truly a subsidy, and we shouldn't have to do that.
And other provinces seem unwilling to withhold their energy from U.S. markets.
From the Alberta perspective, under no circumstances will Alberta agree to cut off oil and gas exports.
By the way, I won't threat Donald not to send electricity.
The disagreement between provinces goes even deeper. Last night, Premier Ford said he is convinced Canada will not escape U.S. tariffs. However, François Legault cited his meeting with Trump last week in Paris.
And he told me very clearly that we can avoid those tariffs if we do what needs to be done with the borders.
Which is the focus of a new announcement from Alberta Premier Danielle Smith today, a team of specially trained Alberta sheriffs that will patrol the border, more than 50 officers, K-9 teams, and cold weather surveillance drones to stop illegal cross-border activity.
If we succeed and maintain proper border security, I expect we will have a very strong relationship with the United States, as we always have.
Ford coming out and threatening, I guess, to withhold energy. I don't know if that means hydro, what that means, but and then...
Oh, it should mean oil.
I don't know how much oil Ford has, but we then...
Canada has a lot, and we ship most of it to the United States. Didn't think I'd ever find myself thinking, you go, Doug. But when I see Doug Ford, say, okay, so maybe we'll hold our energy.
All right, first of all, someone needs to take the mic away from Elizabeth May. She should not be speaking and getting any airtime. The Green Party represents 2 seats in the House of Commons, and I really, really hope that her riding on Vancouver Island is watching what she's saying. I have a question. Why are we going to step 52 and not starting at step 1, which is fixing our border and not having the tariffs on day 1? But no, let's go to step 52 and start saying we're going to be banning our oil from entering the U.S. You heard Trump say it. Go ahead, do whatever you want. I don't care. He really doesn't. So you know what? Us threatening them and trying to be a bully back, that is not a strategy that's going to be successful. This is just my opinion. What I see is a bunch of premiers that are stepping up to the plate with ideas, and we have a prime minister that is absent. Love to hear what your opinion is on all of this. Thanks for watching.
Yeah. We've got no leadership. Like, I mean, we really don't have any leadership. And all these premiers on all over the map, it ain't good either.
Trudeau's more concerned on being a feminist than actually keeping the prosperity of his own nation intact and actually keeping the country a country. Because if he keeps this up, the country very well may not be a country. Like Trump said, you could be the governor. Canada can be the 51st state. You could be the governor. He wouldn't be the governor, just to tell you guys. Everybody knows he wouldn't. But the point stands, maybe not literally, but the point stands that the guy, what he's doing, like the guy said, Trump said, he doesn't care. Canada can do whatever he wants. That's not going to stop him from doing what he needs to do to ensure the safety and prosperity of his country. And if that means Canada has to take the consequences of their actions, he's not going to blink twice. He's going to do it. He's going to, like, what? Holding the oil. Do you think holding the oil? They don't even, it's like they think Canada is so selfish. Canada is so selfish. It's not thinking about the consequences of what this means for the UK, what this means for Canada, the United States, like Mexico. Like what I can't
like
even process this level of stupid.
It's like we got a bunch of 2-year-olds that are running around running the country that have no idea of the consequences. Like Elizabeth May, she does not belong in government, like the guy said.
No, she doesn't. She was like, I never thought I'd be supporting Doug Ford, but when I heard him say hold the energy, he's like, I don't know if that means hydro water or oil. She's like, oil. I was like, come on, bro.
I'm not afraid to say it. Doug Ford, he's an idiot. He is just.
Yeah, he is. Isn't he a drug addict? Like,
no, it was his brother. His brother. I mean, he's not that great either, but I mean, he's still he's and then
not like it's not legal in Canada right now. It is. So
well, pretty much everywhere. But then we have Scott Moe. He's coming in to sit down and say something, and Scott Moe is as dirty as they come because we handed the evidence to Scott Moe. He got a whole whack more by facts. And then the guy I was running against in North Battleford, Jeremy Cockrell, he got the whole shebang. And instead of that, we'll deal with this later because there was some serious election interference in that one because they did not want anybody bringing that stuff into the Legislative Assembly of Saskatchewan. But we'll hear what he has to say.
And so my suggestion was to actually bring the CBSA under an arm of the military, count it as your 2% military spend, and then allow your military to help with some of the short-term staffing challenges that we have in that space.
There was some aggressive pushback against any Trump tariffs, including export bans. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has been talking about restricting electricity sales to the U.S. Is Saskatchewan considering any restrictions along that line as well, whether that be oil, potash, et cetera?
No, what we'd be looking for is how do we actually advance this conversation to get away from the talk around tariffs and get back to doing what we do in North America, which is we're very much part of the energy and the food security supply chain. However, in saying that, we've just heard today that the federal government may be looking at export tariffs on oil, potash, and uranium, export tariffs on our own products, so taxing Canadians on products that we are exporting, which is exactly ridiculous as it sounds. And most certainly we would say that any talk of that is not on in this province. It's a betrayal of those that work in the industry. It's a betrayal, I would say, more broadly of Canadians. So we would encourage, if that's where the federal government is looking for retaliatory action, that they very quickly reconsider. And we would say, in addition to that, that maybe it's time for Canadians to have a say and a choice, and to determine who they would like to have a mandate, a 4-year mandate to negotiate with the incoming Trump administration. We see President-elect Trump with one of the strongest mandates that we've seen in recent history to negotiate on behalf of Americans over the course of the next 4 years. Alongside that, we see a Republican majority in the Senate and in the House. We're over our 4 years of what would be considered the norm for our minority administration here in Canada, and maybe what we need is someone to have the same mandate in Canada to negotiate with that incoming Trump administration. And so we would ask Prime Minister Trudeau to do the right thing, to give Canadians the opportunity to make the choice on who is going to represent them at the table.
Yeah, the answer is simple. Concede, because he said a whole lot of nothing. And it was such a useless waste of an answer. What he spent all that time saying, he could have said in a few seconds, and the girl was sitting there looking like, okay, all right, buddy.
The funny thing is that guy, when the dust settles, he's gonna get arrested. Scott Moe, out of anybody in Canada, he is he was fully aware of all this stuff that was going on, allowed these guys to go in and come and arrest, strap me to a bed, drug me against my will, took you, and all tortured in the province of Saskatchewan, knew that the judges were covering it up, knew about the Attorney General's involvement of Saskatchewan in the federal court, the Saskatchewan courts, and everything else like that, covering up the treason and all that stuff. And he turned a blind eye, knew what the RCMP were doing, and said, no, everything is going on. Nothing's fine. Media in Saskatchewan, every single one of them covered it up. They're all, and he should be the last person to speak, but the hammer's coming down, and so what are they doing? They're all trying to save their hind parts.
Do you know what this looks like to me? When Ukraine started the war with Russia or whoever, whatever, however it started doesn't matter. It matters not. What matters is the result. That everybody around the world was sending money and weapons to Ukraine to fight a war that they clearly could not manage or handle by themselves against Russia. Canada is starting beef with picking on somebody that is very much more than 10 times their size. Okay? 10 times their size, force, authority, and everything. Resources, everything. They cannot... They're starting a fight that they cannot finish, and they have a mouth that if you're going to talk about it, be about it, and they can't be about it. Not even close. This is so monumentally foolish and dangerous what they are doing right now, and for the Canadian people, I'm baffled that they're doing this with so much confidence. They're really saying all this with their chest. The only answer is concede. That's the only correct answer at this point. Concede and negotiate humbly for mercy. Because all you're doing is setting Canadians up for a boatload of failure. And like they said, they're going to tax the Canadians because they're choosing to fight back against Trump. They're going to punish the Canadians and the people who even work in the oil field and make them pay for their mistakes. What does that mean? We're going to get more poor. We're going to have more crime. We're going to have more people on the street. more people going in and out of prison because Trudeau made it easy for these people to go in and out of prison when they're genuine criminals, and all the good people be arrested. Like, they want mayhem and chaos. Canada, the next 4 years, this is going to be complete mayhem and chaos. Like, I don't know if you guys understand the words that are coming out of my mouth.
Keep in mind what's in possession of the Saskatchewan government. Let's just remind people of what's in possession that Scott Moe is aware of when he's talking about Trump. That is a petition for redress of grievances, and that needs to go to him. And he has an obligation to bring this to the floor. He's under the Westminster Parliamentary procedures, common law. Okay. And if he doesn't bring it to the floor, I will, because I'm running for the Buffalo Party.
All right, thanks so much.
Yes. And that's got evidence of the biological weapons that were handed over to the Chinese nationals. And in this district here, the RCMP hindered the RCMP in Winnipeg because I gave them the evidence of a biological weapons distribution system. And so that's high treason. Scott Moe's got it, and now this is going to get dealt with. So all Saskatchewan's going to know about it. Thank you.
Tragic, man.
This is why all of these guys are scrambling. This guy was doubling down on people on the vaccines and everything. Knows that this came from this. All this stuff was tied to the stuff in the States that took Trump out, and this is why he's not saying all.
And Trump said COVID was used to try to take him out.
Oh yes. And there's a lot of people in the States that know exactly what's going on here in Canada, and they ain't happy. And people are just like, oh no, nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's gonna happen. Really? You have to understand, United States is not like Canada. And the people there have a lot more say in when they get pissed off. And the growing sentiment is that this stuff needs to get dealt with. And the American people, they ain't going to take it because they got that Second Amendment that they don't have here. You see, the government can't just come in and say, we're going to take your guns. That ain't going to fly, right? And that's the deterrent that they have. Because when you look at what Trudeau was doing, disarming the people, then saying that they're going to be using the Canadian military to help civilians in Canada, that is not right. And then you're going to donate those, saying that they're going to donate those things to Ukraine, and then you're trying to start a pissing contest with Trump so the economy goes down the tubes. And so when the people get pissed off, you just haul them away with the military? No.
Yep.
No.
And that's it. As soon as he went and Trump told him he's going to give him those 25% tariff, the first thing he did when he came back was take all the guns from Canadians.
Yes.
What does that tell you?
Yes.
What does that tell you? That means he's prepared to just go full dictator. Like I said, I've been telling you guys for years, worse dictator than his Cuban predecessor. Worse tyrant.
Yes.
Because this is insane. He's setting up the people for failure, and then once they get into the system of complete destruction because they're trying to push back against Trump with the 25% tariff, the people are going to suffer the most, and because he's going to disarm them, they're not going to have any recourse to help themselves when he sicks the military on them or whatever else he does to them. They're going to be defenseless, and with all the criminals that are coming in, all this other stuff, all the crime that's going to progress, we've already have 4,000 organized crimes, and that's only what they're telling us because we know the number is more. Let's be so for real right now. When all of this breaks loose on the people, they're going to be screwed.
All right,
they're going to be screwed.
We got to take a break here, and we'll be back on the other side of the break.
Donald J. Trump is officially the next president of the United States of America. While millions of people are rejoicing in victory, thousands of others are still concerned about their savings. The unfortunate truth is we still have over $35 trillion in debt, plus wars are still raging around the globe. So what can you do to protect your savings? Many Americans are already taking action by reaching out to the top-rated precious metal company, Goldco. Right now, Goldco is offering you a free gold and silver kit to show you how precious metals like gold and silver could help you diversify your savings before it's too late. Visit MikeLikesGold.com or call 855-441-GOLD to get your free gold and silver kit today. Plus, you can receive up to a 10% instant match on bonus silver for qualified accounts. Visit MikeLikesGold.com or call 855-441-GOLD. I'm excited to announce our Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. Our famous My Slippers, they haven't been on sale for over a year. Regularly $119.98, now only $59.98. Our 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. Bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save on all MyPillow products. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98, or our 6-piece towel sets, just $29.98. But that's not all. I'm extending our 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st of 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free.
Yes, and yeah, you can see the it's here in the ticker for the mypillow.com/Karis. Use the promo code Karis. Get your MyPillow stuff, or you can call the number that you see down there, 1-800-845-2942. And so, yeah, you can see the ticker, pause it, whatever, if you need to see it. Go support in that manner. We're going to quickly bring up here what Danielle Smith has to say about what's going on quickly here, and with Rachel Emmanuel.
Notley? Oh.
No, Rich. She's a reporter. Actually, I talked to her about what went on when all this stuff was going on in Chester, and she failed to report this either. Like, I mean, everybody was just shutting this down, right? So we'll listen to what she has to say with Danielle Smith. Danielle Smith's office also got this information as well.
Speaking of Canada's relationship with the U.S., Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau obviously flew down to Mar-a-Lago. In the days since, President-elect Donald Trump has been making a lot of jokes about Canada becoming the 51st state. Assuming you are someone who doesn't think that Canada should join the U.S., are you looking at this as something that is comical or something that's concerning?
I mean, I think that Trump does like to make jokes, and I think he is trolling Trudeau. I mean, let's remember, Trudeau spent the last 2 years making derogatory comments about about Trump in trying to discredit Pierre Poilievre. So you have to imagine that if you're going to weigh in on their politics, they're going to weigh in on ours. I would say that at this point, it's not helpful for the Prime Minister to be trying to engage in any tit for tat and offering an opinion about who he would prefer to have won in the White House. I think that makes things a lot more difficult. The Americans chose who they chose, and that's who we have to deal with. That's who we have to negotiate with. So I don't think that what we're seeing is a sign of a very positive turn in the relationship, but I think it's up to our Prime Minister to maybe reset, identify the things that we can do to work more collaboratively, and hopefully we'll be able to take the temperature down on that.
Do you see how much her fingers were twitching? Or she's moving her fingers?
No, yes. Everybody's afraid of the hammer coming down. Everybody.
Oh, I think he's trolling. No, you pray he's trolling because you know he's not.
And even if he was, the people aren't going to take that, because when they start seeing all that stuff that's been going on, they're going to be like, absolutely not. People
you can't have this level of evil festering right north of the American people and not think it's going to bleed into their country, and then expect them to sit there and lie down while communists are just plotting right next to them. No.
Yeah, and we're gonna bring in a little bit about Maxime Bernier, about what he said about Trump. But before we do that, let's look at the debate that he had with them. This is probably why nobody wants to talk to him and don't want him to speak, because he absolutely crushes these guys. Let's watch this.
We will restore the best immigration system in the world. Speaking of healthcare, we've got 20,000 immigrant doctors, 32,000 immigrant nurses in Canada today who cannot work because they can't get a license. We will create, in the professions, what we did as a country in the trades 7 decades ago. We will create a national licensing standard provinces can voluntarily adopt.
Oh, I don't think that was the right one. No, that was not. That was Pierre Poilievre. I guess that was, we'll have to watch that after. But we'll pull up the one where he talks and he congratulates Trump. We'll bring that up. But he actually, in one of the debates, it was actually very bad. He absolutely, annihilated these guys in the debate. But I'll bring up the one for him talking about Trump. And we will bring that up.
The era of the rainbow and woke cult is over. Donald Trump won decisively. No silly tricks. The American people went big for Trump yesterday. So, congratulations to President Trump and Vice President Vance. It is a new dawn in America. A Republican administration will change things for Canada. We need to cut government spending, cut taxes, cut red tape, get rid of the globalist policies, get rid of insane climate policies, abolish DEI programs, stop mass immigration, and create a business climate where workers, entrepreneurs, and investors will thrive. If we don't do these things, we will be outcompeted by America. Why? Because the Trump administration will do all these things. Canada will be left behind. Yes, I'm pro-Trump. If you like Trump and his policies and want them in Canada, the PPC is your only option. The Liberals and NDP are just like Harris, who lost big last night. And the fake Conservatives are Conservatives in name only. Pandering Pierre only has slogans. He treats Canadians as if they are stupid. What Trump has shown everyone is that the establishment is not invincible. Even in America, where most of the globalist elites are set up, his victory should give us hope in Canada that we can win and put an end to woke communism. But only if we do the work. Stay strong and free.
Yeah, what a guy, Maxime. He's right. He said it, and I said it in the show the other day, that Maxime is Canada's Trump. Canada will have their Trump after all. If, the people are willing to do the work and get the stuff done. Trump won, like he said, very, very deliberately. There was no tricks or whatever. And if they want those policies to come to Canada so that we're not left behind, they need to go with Maxime Bernier. Pierre, he's giving the slogans, is true, and then Trump is just riling, adding fuel to the fire with Trump. The only fuel Trudeau wants to give Trump is through the fire, and he's really he's dragging us through the mud. The guy's so concerned about DEI as opposed to actually helping the country, and it's crazy. And he talked about it too, DEI. This is what he's going through with the feminism and all this other nonsense. It's like, we've had so many people on in the past year. We told you guys all the stuff that was going on. The one lady whose daughter was adopted out at 17 and shipped across the province so that she couldn't pray with her because she was saying she was a terrorist for praying with her daughter. There's countless examples. If he cared about women, all these women in Canada wouldn't matter. Would matter. Remember the RCMP we had come on, the ex-RCMP who was sexually assaulted at her house in front of her kids. Well, not directly in front, but like they were just right upstairs, and nothing, no justice for her. Like constant attacks. He does not care about women. He's using it as like a front. We need people in there that is going to bring the country back from the ground up, because this war, like verbal pushback, pissing contests, like my dad said he's trying to start with Trump, it's not going to end well. And I just hope, Trump, he knows he's a very smart man. He's very smart. I hope he does thorough investigation and holds all of them accountable, who's accountable, and shows the deepest mercy and admiration, appreciation for those who suffered, truly, truly suffered the last 4.5 years to bring peace and prosperity, not only to Canada, but the United States, as a whole, because that was not easy. And all of the people, they need to band together and they need to support each other so that we can keep going out of it. We can't stay in it. We need to keep going out of it. And, we can't allow this to continue, this persecution, this evil, this woke liberal ideology, this Satanism, this communism. All of the isms need to go, man. That's all I gotta say.
Yes, they do. I can't find that debate. I wanted to pull it up because it was just absolute murder. These guys got destroyed, like all of them. I'm so angry. I guess I downloaded the wrong one, but yeah. It was bad. Like I watched them and he was just getting it. I mean, it was horrendous for all of these guys because they don't really have anything to say. They just come in and they say what they have to say, and then that was it, right?
Yeah, and Danielle Smith, like the only reason she's invested because she wants the money from the trade, because Alberta and Saskatchewan have huge resources for mining and oil and things like that, and she's financially invested. She could care less about, like, she herself is not a fan of Trump, because when they asked her directly, she spoke about her financial interest in keeping her strong trade relation, and she's worried about that. She might be worried about some other things too, but when it comes down to the actual people and what the people want, none of them have shown that they actually cared about that. And that's crazy to me, because there's so much they can do right now as they're in office right now to make differences, and nothing. They were all going against the interest. And like my dad said, they had the evidence that he submitted. Scott Moe had it. Danielle Smith had it. He talked to a lot of these news people. They even did hit pieces on my dad talking how he was a conspiracy theorist.
Yes.
On the news in Canada, mainstream media, legacy media, and doing everything to silence. And not just us, everybody who's been trying to fight for freedom in the legal, lawful, ethical, and moral way, not anything crazy, just trying to assert our basic human rights to help people or do our jobs, getting shut down like crazy. And for what? When you like, and now when you're seeing Trump is doing this 25% tariff, all the people who are coming out and the way that they're responding to his tariff, you can see why they've been persecuting the Canadian people so heavily for the last 4.5 years, because they didn't want to deal with the consequences of Trump. And they knew that those people would help pretty much bring the hammer down, because they're going to do the right thing. They're not going to stand by for this nonsense. That's why I said, when you watch the actions of the Canadian government and you see how deliberate is their ignorance and their wickedness and the evil that they've been doing, Trump has to be like, the consequence has to be serious, man. I'm a woman. I'm not even going to say what it is, because it's not my position. It's not my job. I don't even care like that. Like, I don't make those decisions. All I know is the decision needs to be serious, because like they can't get away the mentality thinking that they can do it again. And the way that they had such influence, the way that they were doing so much to be participant in overthrowing the American government and the elections and all this stuff, the trafficking, the treason, the bioterrorism, the stuff at the Winnipeg biolabs that were going over to the Chinese for the Wuhan Institute of Virology, that was, from the PHAC and the CDC, Public Health Agency of Canada, all of these pieces that were moving together like a well-oiled machine, the level of involvement they had, I don't know why more Americans aren't offended. I don't know why more Americans aren't deeply offended by this betrayal. They talk about the longest standing or border and trade relationships and all this other stuff and the treaties that we have between Canada and the United States. The level of loyalty that was perceived to be there, that level of respect that you've had, you should feel the deeper level of disrespect and betrayal and frustration because of what's gone on. Like, I don't understand how the American people are more upset about Mexico, a country with the disorganized crime. Like, there's organized crime with Mexico. I've never been there, but based on what I've seen come across the border and all this other stuff, there's so many different variant stuff happening all over the place. It's chaotic. Okay. Like, there's people coming from China, from Russia, from Central and South America. They're all over the place and they don't know each other. They're in their individual chaos, coming and bringing their chaos. Okay. In Canada, it is a well-oiled machine chaos involving specifically the government using other chaoses and bringing it to the United States. And this is why I'm confused. Like, I don't even have words for this level of confusion that I have right now, because I'm confused why y'all are not, taking a more heavy-handed approach. And that's why I said when Trump gets into office, he needs to lay the hammer down. And I hate to say that because I can't even say Canada's my home. I'm not even going to say that, man. I was raised there. I was born there. I'm Native American. There's no border for me. All of Canada and the United States is the same for me as a Native because it's my home regardless. That being said, it hurts me. I even cracked in my voice just now. I hope you heard that. It actually hurts me to think and feel Canada as a country is not my home. People will tell me all the time, Kaysha, oh, Canada is so beautiful. Well, if I lived in places for aesthetics, I'd be living in a communist dictatorship right now. Why not move to Cuba or something? You can't live places based on aesthetic. And right now, Canada is not a suitable place to live. And that's really sad. Canada is a beautiful place. The people are beautiful. There's a lot of great people in Canada still. The government, though, has taken a turn for the worst on levels that are incomprehensible, that far outweigh logic or reasoning. The steps that they're taking right now are so selfish and so egregious and heavy-handed. Their mistakes, their errors in judgment are so deliberate and so weighty. The consequences are so weighty that they will affect not only Canada, but countries that Canada also has relation and ties to outside of the United States. They're not thinking of anybody but themselves, and they're prepared to throw everyone under the bus. Look how Trudeau threw, what's her name, Freeland under the bus. He doesn't care. It's a free for all.
No, and the government here in Canada has failed. They've completely
failed.
They're every single last one of them is lying. Right? Like
every one of them.
You look at all those elected officials, every single one of them is lying. All those parties in Ottawa, they are all aware of everything that's been going on, a lot of what's going on, and they've been doing nothing. And they're all about to get taken to task, and every single one of them needs to go. Right? People might do these things and so forth and say, well, oh, they're doing this and that. Well, I'm sorry, but when you conceal treason and like the genocide and murder of people and then disadvantage the United States when you had the obligation to tell them what was going on, but you just sat down and doubled down. These guys were all playing the globalist game. and they're all now running for cover because they're all trying to cover their hind parts. They all want what they want, and they're willing to do whatever they want to get what they need. Like,
Well, remember. Oh,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, I mean these guys are they're criminals. They just need to be out. All of them.
All of them, all 338 of them. I remember when, I forget what the guy's name, he's in Congress in America. I forget what his name was, but he said that Canada, and this was before Trump even won, he said Canada should be put on the list of dangerous countries. Official list of dangerous countries in the United States because of their attack on religious freedoms, Christianity, and the way that Canada has so blatantly taken a vicious turn on Christians and families and breaking them apart, and the criminals that they're allowing to let reign loose on their own people. How are Americans even going to come to Canada? You can't protect yourself. You can't have a gun. You can't be defended against crime. All drugs are legal. If someone attacks you in a fit of rage, Trudeau will be like, "Oh, well, compassion and empathy."
Yeah.
You come to Canada for a visit, you get raped and stabbed, and Trudeau is going to be like, "Oh, compassion, empathy." They'll be out in like a few days. Like,
basically, we're gonna close here. I mean, we're running up on time. What's going to happen is that, I mean, this needs to get dealt with. We can't allow this to continue. That's just the end of story. That just, whatever's going on now needs to stop. It's done. Like, it's time for accountability, and that has to come, because Canadians, we don't need a 25% tariff. This needs to stop. This information needs to come out. You need to start pressuring those elected officials to get out, do what they need to do. We need to go ahead and use every aspect that we have in the law to protect ourselves and our country. And so I'll close with a prayer.
when it comes to treason, though, it's very hard for people to be like, "Oh, well, you got me."
I mean, that's really it. Let me close here. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. You see where the state of this country is, Lord. I ask of you this day to open the eyes of the people and get the men to stand up, to work with the women, to come together to rebuild their families, their churches, their communities, and their nation. And Lord, that we would stop this wickedness and evil in the sight of God, and that we would turn away and repent from our sins, and bless us and be with us this day, and bring some peace and prosperity till we finish the work and see you coming in the clouds. It's my prayer. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thanks, Dad, for the prayer as always. Yeah, guys, I think it's clear. We need accountability in Canada. We need people to be responsible and start doing what's necessary, because all of those people, first of all those people just need to be gone. All 338 of them. Especially since how they were voting for, the trans, no protection for children. Anyways, you guys get the point. I could go on and on. Thank you guys for your time and consideration today. By all means, please go and look into what Maxime Bernier is doing and support it. If you want Trump in Canada, you got to vote for Maxime. We'll catch you guys in the next one. And to my dearest Karis, until we meet again, my friend, we will. Ciao.